Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Designs by Dana. This is Dana, and I'm also a close to my heart consultant. And today I'm working on day one of the 31 Days of October sketch challenge by Christy's Beautiful Life. This is day one, and the sketch is by Jessica Michaels. And this is the sketch. I'm just going to hold it up a little bit closer for you to see that. And I'm going to try to hold fairly true to this sketch tonight. And let me just put it over here to the side so we can kind of refer back to it. I have my Versamat here, which I absolutely love because it helps me not only hold my paper in place, but you can see that it's got the ruler measurements here. And so if I need to measure anything or line something up, it makes it very easy for me. Okay, so to start with, this sketch has two photos. So I've picked out these two photos of my grandsons at a wrestling match. So my photos are a little bit larger than what are shown in the sketch. So I did have to adapt to make the modifications for that. But other than that, I think I held fairly true. So I'm just going to bring in all my paper pieces that I've cut. And any stamping that I did, I went ahead and pre-stamped off camera just to save time in the video recording. So I have these two folder type pieces that I'm going to kind of layer in the background of my photos. So they're gonna go back here. And then I have these white photo mats. I liked how their photo mats looked more like old Polaroid photos. So I did try to kind of hold true to that. So I'm just gonna kind of dry fit and lay this down real quick to give you an idea of what my vision is here. So looking at that, I'm going to kind of take a pause because it looks like here on the sketch, they have some kind of a mixed media or inked background. So what I decided to do to emulate that is bring in my green apple and perhaps a little bit of gray ink because I wanted my colors to kind of be the green, grays, and blacks to kind of pull in from the picture. And I am going to use just some simple bubble wrap that came in a package. And that's how I'm going to texturize my background. So having this here is going to just give me kind of a visual idea of where I need to put my background. So if you've ever done this technique, it is super, super easy. And what I do is just kind of wrap up my bubble wrap into kind of a wad, and I'm trying to basically get my bubbles on the wrap to make the texture. So I'm just going to kind of pull this down and start making texture. And you could do first and second generation and just kind of fill that up. And then as I pull that back up, I'm going to come down here and fill in this area. So my texture is kind of going in this direction over the page, and maybe just a little bit more up in here in the corner. So that's kind of the texture. It looks like kind of speckled dots. I'm just going to wipe that off in my stamp chamois. It's kind of squeaky, but I also want to bring in a little bit of gray so it has some visual texture with the multi-colors. So I'm going to do the same thing and get into my charcoal pad and just add just a little bit of that charcoal, mostly kind of around the edges here. So I can probably just get rid of this and just pull in some of that gray. That's probably really all I need here and there. And I'm just going to wipe that off in on my chamois as well, so I can reuse this bubble wrap over and over again. So that's my background, and I think that looks pretty cool. So that will give me a great start to start laying down then my pieces. So I'm going to bring this back in and make sure I have the right spacing to put everything down. So I really don't need these photos here for right now, and just kind of make sure I want my photo mat to be on the inside of this particular piece, and I don't care how far it goes over this way. So just kind of visually spacing this out a little bit. And you'll notice I did pre-stamp the word perfection and game on here. So I'm just going to lift this up and put this one down. And I'm eyeballing, it's just about a little over 3 inches and a little bit, about 4 inches. So it's about 3 over and 4 up. So I'm going to bring in my new T ruler. This is my brand new ruler from Close to My Heart. What I love about it is it comes apart. So I can use it just as a straight ruler, or I can put it together and it's just a really good magnet, and use it then as the T ruler. So I can line this up where I want it to be, and then I can add my adhesive. It's lined up, and I'm just going to adhere that down in about the same spot there using my T ruler. And now I can bring in my next piece. And I know exactly where I want that to go, but I am going to use the T ruler just to make sure that I get it straight. I kind of adhere, put my tape on the corners in case I do later decide to tuck anything else under. So put that about right there. And get that out of the way. My photo mats will be pretty simple. And actually, this one goes on this side, so I'm going to do that one last. So this one goes here. This one will go here. And now I can put my photos right on top. So this picture, these two kind of look like twins. They're about 17 months apart. This is Ethan, he's the oldest. This is my first grandson, and if you have grandkids, you know that the first one seems to be, I don't want to say more special, but when you have the first grandchild, it seems to just change everything. So he and I have been pretty close. Got a little adhesive on there. Okay, so that's the basic paper laying for my layout. Now I want to add the stars and add my embellishments. So I'm going to bring in my little bucket of embellishments, and I cut some stars out on my Cricut. And what I did with these stars, I don't know if you can tell how thick that is, but I cut 5 of each star out because they're so thin, and I like to have a lot of dimension on my layouts, and I wouldn't be able to pop these up very easily. I just layered them to give them some thickness and some depth, and that way they're more like a chipboard or paperboard type of embellishment. So we obviously have this one to go up in the upper right corner, and then I've got this one to go down here in the left hand corner. And then I have some smaller stars I did in the green, and I did the same thing. I just didn't do as many layers. So I wanted to kind of show you, in case you've never done this before, how I put those together. So it won't take very long. So here I've got 4 stars, and I'm just using my liquid adhesive. I like to use the liquid adhesive for this project because it gives you a little bit of time to move anything around and get them lined up just right. And it dries fast enough that it's not a problem. So I can just put that on there, and if I need to wiggle it around, I can, and then go right on to the next layer. And it doesn't take a lot of adhesive. For the stars that were a little bigger, I did use my all-purpose mat and laid it down in case I got any adhesive squeeze coming out. And then I laid them down and lined them up, and then if I needed to pick it up to move them around a little bit, I was able to do that and make sure everything lined up just right. So that's really all there is to it. And you could put as little few layers on there or as many as you want. So I think on these stars I did 5, and on these I did 3 and 4. So that gives me some different colors to pull into the project. So we'll put, you know, some green up here, and maybe, you know, my visual triangle of that green, pop of green. And then I also pre-cut some little sayings that I thought I might add on to the layout as well. So I've got Bring It On and Best of the Best. And I thought that I might do it like that. But now I'm kind of wondering, because I did go over pretty far on this side, that maybe it might look better this way. I could maybe make that into a little cluster. So I'm going to just kind of set that there and think about it for a little bit as I put everything else together. I think it kind of fits in well there. Oh, I'm so sorry. This cat loves to be on camera. So I apologize for that. And I think that's looking good. So I'm going to start gluing down my star here. I want to get like a visual of where my adhesive, I want that to overlap. So I'm going to have to squirt somebody with the water. And that way I know I don't need to put adhesive on those 3 points. So that will help me. And I'm using this Barely Art Precision Glue, and I love it for things like this because you can see just how fine of a line I can get with it, and it's really good glue to use on your craft projects, whether it's scrapbooking or something else. And that's perfect. And it dries quick, so I just have to hold that down for a second. And once I'm all done, I'll go back and cut those pieces off. And then down here, I don't really need any on these 2 corners here. So again, I can just use that fine tip and go around the star that way. And again, I planned to have that cover part of my photo mat. So we'll put that down just like that. And then I think I want this star here just to kind of go fairly close to that large star. Now, I could probably use regular adhesive, pop dots, glue dots, for these stars here, but since I have my liquid glue out, I'm just going to glue those down. And the same down here. Let's see if I want that turned or not. There we go. One thing I didn't mention that you may have noticed is I did ink all of my papers with black ink, and I do that with a sponge, which isn't that big of a deal, but I like to ink things up. So I'm just by nature someone who likes to have things inked up and tend to do that most of the time. So with these things, I actually used my die cut to cut those ovals out, and this is just from my stash. These are the stitched ovals. They are retired, but I have them in my stash and they fit perfectly. So I pulled those out and cut them, and then I stamped my little sentiments on there. And I'll show you the stamp set I used as well, because it's also from my stash, but it's a great sports type of a sentiment stamp set to use for things like this. And I don't get to do sports stuff anymore. My kids are obviously a little older now, and so I'm just maybe getting started on the grandkids. I hope they stick with it. Pop that up. Okay, so here's the stamps that I used, and it's a really, really old one from my stash. It's called My Game, and it's got tons of sports sentiments, no pain, no game, lots of fun stuff. So I stamped here and here as well as up here on the little tabs and then on my little embellishments. So it was a great way to embellish up the layout. And I brought it over here with me because I might even want to add some more on the layout once I get everything down and complete. So we'll keep adding to this and get everything I plan to put on here and see if there's anything else I want to add. So I think before I go on any more with embellishing, I want to add my title. For my title, I am using the Close to My Heart. These are new. These are black alphabets, and they're made out of chipboard or paperboard, and they just pop out. So I'm going to, for my title, I'm going to use the word pin, because this is a wrestling layout. And so let's see, have to find it. There's the P. And they just pop right out. Not too easy, so you lose them, but just easy enough that you can pull them out without damaging them. So I didn't want to do that in advance because I wanted you to see how easy those were to pull out. Now, of course, this end's going to give me problems, but yeah, there we go. N, E. Now, when I'm scrapbooking and working like this, I always have to double check myself because I feel like it's correct, but it doesn't look correct. I don't know if you guys have that problem or not, but I want it to kind of line up with this right line here. I think that looks about right. So again, I'm going to use my liquid glue, and the best way to do that with these thin letters is by using my tweezers. So again, it's such a thin glue that comes out. It's easy to use with these things, and I can have a little bit of movement as I put those down. So we'll get this down real quick. So I don't know if I'm the only one, but whenever I do something like this, Even when it's spelled right, I feel like it's wrong. You guys will have to let me know if you have that same problem in the comments. I even double checked it before I started recording just to make sure. But I have had layouts where I have spelled my titles wrong. And I have layouts that I've done at crops where I've been up late at night and I've actually put the words down backwards. I think I have one that I was trying to say road trip and I put trip road on it instead. You'll have to let me know if that's ever happened to you. But that's one disadvantage of scrapping while tired. But I left it, you know, because I think then that tells another story. So I left it there and just added to the story. So I'm gonna add this little arrow here. It's part of this little cluster over here. I think that's kind of cute. These two boys, well, I suppose any boy at this age is about as hyper as can be. So wrestling is a great sport for them. So let's see, I'm gonna put this glue away. And I also brought over, so I want some more black stars to put throughout the layout. So I brought some more of my acrylic stars to help the black pop out a little bit more. So I'm going to just kind of skim through here. And I guess now that I'm looking at it, I don't know that they all have to be stars. So I'm gonna play around here and see what I've got. This one's a really small one. I think I do tend to like the stars a little better. So I'll get rid of that. There's some tiny ones. This is just a jar I had on hand and I just thought it worked perfect for all my acrylic shapes. And that actually might be enough because I think I want, you know, just a little grouping here and there. Maybe one or two more. Actually, that might be kind of cool there. And get through these. I also have some dots I might choose to add on here. So I don't know that I need that one. I'll put it up here. No, I don't think I do. I think that's fine. Now again, I could use glue dots for these as well, but I've got my liquid glue here and it works just as well. So that's what I'm gonna use because it's all right here. And gives me a little bit of a second to position those where I want them. Might have to get the tweezers out again, but we'll see how that goes. I think I can get this. Perfect. I think it's coming along quite well. One more. Perfect. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to consider adding, and you can tell I like to embellish quite a bit. So in my stash, I do have some green dots that match my green paper. This is green apple paper. I'm gonna pull those out and think about using those. I also have some black dots that I may want to add on here, but kind of think about I think the black actually might work a little better, because I think they'll show up better on the background. I might put maybe a green one down here, maybe a couple greens, and then put some black on the background paper. So let's play around with that a little bit. But like I said, I love to embellish. Sometimes for me it's hard to know when to stop. So I'm gonna play around a little bit. I see 3 here because I like to do things in 3s. And I'm just using my paper piercer here to just pull them up. Everybody does theirs differently. Actually, this might be a good place to do a good little trio. Maybe a couple down here. Oh, I think I'll do the same. I'm just going to repeat that same pattern actually, for some continuity down here. And I think that'll look good. And finally, I might just add 1 or 2 over here to add to this cluster. Okay, I'm going to stop before I get too carried away and put some of these things away, and we'll pull this off and bring in my scissors here, and we'll chop these off. Now remember, that's 5 sheets of cardstock, so it's kind of hard to cut through. Get. Two more. These are really thick. All right, let's get this out of the way. And all these little pieces went flying. And let's see what we think. All right, so we have our texture. We've got lots of visual texture in that background. And we have our title. The only thing I didn't do is my journaling. So I think I'll probably come back in here and do my hand journaling just down here. But I have my 2 photos side by side. I have the little tabs. I have the stars. I am very happy with that, and I held pretty true to the original sketch. So I hope you like that. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Bye.